The next group was interesting, was Sacraco, and they're one of the groups that got 496 Fabric Lab to sponsor their collection. And it transformed everything the moment we saw the fabric, right? Right, Sue, would you agree? I was like, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I love the concept right from the beginning. It was all about going into the church and not so much about religion, but it was about sacred. So, you know, I mean, I'm always hooked into a good narrative. It was a beautiful story. And I know that they were having issues in sort of connecting as a group. So when we saw the end product, the way they put it together, it was stunning.
Yeah,
Absolutely stunning.
You'd never know they had issues as a group because it was so well put together.
Yeah, but it was beautiful, and their commitment to working together was fantastic.
Yeah, they also did a shoot as well in a church. They really did try and sort of like pull in those sacred spaces and those ideas. And yeah, obviously 496 actually got the design, wove up the jacquard and sent it back to the UK in a 3-week turnaround, which was quite impressive.
It is impressive. That's what's great about the industry support for this actual project. So yeah, and he's wanted to be involved with the project for a couple of years, hasn't he? So he's always a bit, why aren't I involved in this project every time I saw him? So it's quite funny. So the next group was Milu. This group was interesting because they did a lot of damage-like repair and a lot of finishing. They were coating their fabrics as well. Some of it even looked like leather, and sort of like leatherette in the end, which is really cool. But they were focusing a lot more on like climate, I believe. I don't know if anyone wants to say anything about that.
Like protection, actually. So it was around the idea that sort of like protecting yourself from pollution and from weather and these really kind of like key issues that we're having within the climate, and actually taking that sort of like high-end luxury consumer who's almost like a conscious creative or a conscious environmentalist who wants to protect themselves. So that's when they ended up basically sort of like applying these different finishes to their cone denim fabric.
It was made so well as well, so many eyelets and like sort of rivets and buttons. I was amazed by how, you know, because when you start doing that, everything starts growing and becomes really heavy. Then we have Enigma, and these guys were unbelievable because these ones were actually like weaving quite a lot of things. I think they even made shoes as well, from my understanding.
No, that wasn't the shoe. They only
had the bag.
They had the bag.
The student Sarah actually made her own loom, so she created the loom in a bigger scale to be able to do the backpack in that way.
Wow.
To be able to weave that big piece, which is great.
Yeah, this one sort of visually looks quite amazing. And these guys were sponsored by like Neela, which was cool. Then we had Ephemere, and these guys were in the runners-up. I think they came second or third, this particular group. And these guys were amazing because they had a collection where they wanted to concentrate on no waste patterns, I believe, if that's correct. And so they were using 77 centimeters, is that right?
77 or 78 cm.
So yeah, so depending on the selvage, and they retrofitted all their patterns so there was no waste, and they origamied half their collection like together, and yeah, rightly so. They were in the top 3.
The way that they presented it, where they had the glass jars and it showed, you know, the zero waste from the jacket, and then the tiny little bits from the jumpsuit. It was beautiful the way that they kind of like visually displayed their concept.
I think all of the students, all of the groups did amazing stuff with their waste. They were all making hang tags out of it, and they were all very conscious about the waste of the leftover bits. But these guys took it to a whole new level, really. They literally showed half the group up where they're like, we're going to design patterns that is no waste. And that to me is really future. That's like how it should be. Yeah, so these guys were amazing. And then we have Pre. Now this group, they did get their fabrics laser finished by like sort of like Genealogy, I believe. They had none of their mountain stuff.
Because they had the gradient.
The gradient, yeah. It might not be on this photo shoot because it was on probably prior to this. I think they did it like a couple of days before the judging event. But their fabrics were like Carabo, and they were sponsored by like sort of Genealogy. And these garments were amazing, like proper outerwear pieces from level 2, second year students making full garments like this. It was quite shocking seeing it. All of us were like, wow. And I think their presentation skills for this group were amazing as well.
Yeah, and they're kind of like brand concept, and I think they even had an Instagram that they'd set up so that they had, you know, their front of house was just as incredible as their garments.
Yeah, they just needed that funding to actually go ahead with the brand. Really.
Yeah,
they're pretty much ready to go,
ready to run.
Yeah,
the app was actually a really nice invention, because that would also show you, I think it was like showing you where all the fabric would actually come from, and like you could somehow track and trace what the whole kind of garment, how it was made, where all the pieces are from, which was actually super clever.
Yeah,
amazing. Then we had Saiho. So these guys also used the Carabo selvage, I believe, but they used it in a really clever way. They're hiding some of it. They also made some amazing long outerwear pieces. Let's see what they're saying. Capsule collection taken from Eastern Heritage. Yes, that's right. So these guys were ones
beautiful mood boards.
Beautiful mood boards. Oh my god, it was like farming, old Japanese farming tradition, and taking it into a new way. And I thought, stunning. Yeah.
Heavily Japanese inspired, so they were always after getting Karabu fabric. And their cape is the raincoat was inspired by the Japanese waterproof coat, so they took their concepts very seriously.
No, amazing, and amazingly finished as well. And all of these guys had great illustrations as well, which we're not presenting here. You know, they all did such good drawings as well, and concept boards. Then we have this group here. I can't pronounce them.
Unitaria.
There we go. And these guys were really good about their customer profiles. All of them did really amazing profile work about who their person was, who they're designing for. And I think these guys were one of them that we were, as judges, quite impressed by it as well. But yeah, these guys were sponsored by Bossa.
And the student created the boots for these ones as well.
Oh, yes. Wow.
Yeah.
No, and she made 2 in the end. I think unbelievable. She knocked out 2. I think in the presentation, or one of the formatives, she had 1, and we said, please make 2, and she did it. Yeah, quite amazing. And then this is like sort of like Elysium. These guys did, I don't know, the fabric information. Were these guys sponsored by Bossa or Kona? I've forgotten one of the mills.
I can't remember off the top of my head. Elysium, though, were 7 students that were from 7 different countries. They pulled together all those different heritages. So it was Bangladesh and Vietnam, like Wales, all over. And they pulled that all together to create their concept of their brand.
Quite a unique way of making a collection. You don't really see this kind of way. I guess you see it sometimes in some ways, but yeah, it was a really interesting way of making a collection. Could be successful, could not be. It's like, you know, it's one of these hard things to manage, but some of the garments were quite wearable and quite avant-garde, really. Yeah, it's Elysium. Then we had Whitley and Monk. These guys are all about heritage and English workwear and millineries and old like machines, I believe. Sue, if you can remember, these guys all.
I remember their mood boards were brilliant because it had a real sort of industrial kind of labor and weight kind of identity that you could see absolutely landing in the market and being a really really successful menswear concept.
Yeah, really clean
and matched with this beautiful artistic fabric. It was just the perfect thing because it looks quite blue in the screen, but it was beautiful sort of grey blue shades.
I think this
really stood out.
Particular sort of fabric, Ebru from Artistic Millers was saying that it's been finished with a Genealogia machine, so it's even more eco than most fabrics, really. How it's actually been presented. So when you buy it, it's already been less waters that actually like touched it. So that's one of the positive things about this particular fabric, from what I can remember. But yeah, really beautiful. And it's C2 or is it C11? I think it's C2.
C22.
Oh, excuse me. See, I got it wrong. These guys were also like Carabo fabric sponsors, and Fabric Lab also. These ones were all about social, and was it about
It's like political protest, a bit of activism.
Yeah. We got pictures of this coming up soon, where it was some of the jackards, the political messages of the jackards were unbelievable. And
they got to do their final presentation on the day of the election, so they could like bring everything in.
That's it. Yeah,
basically.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was brilliant actually. And then there was some pictures from there. So this is actually one of the collections. This is the origami one.
FMA,
yeah. And this is from pictures from our judging event, and it was really touch and go. You know, it was all of us. Some of us weren't agreeing. I think Michael and some of us were like saying no. It was really tough, and I think you guys, like Gabby, you guys was in the background, obviously, because it was really touchy, really hard. But,
everyone got very passionate, didn't they? They were like really passionate. Like really got behind some of the concepts.
Yeah, no, it was an amazing event. You know, a real groundbreaking thing that we managed to do, and it's a shame that we can't present it in the way that we normally would do. But hopefully this presentation just gives a little glimpse of some of the work that we're doing in like the UK and hey Sue, but you know how serious we all took it. It's not just designing garments that don't make any sense, that aren't wearable. It was like, I remember Michael in particular was like saying, but this isn't commercial, this isn't meeting the brief, why should they be in the top 3? It was really, but we said, oh, but it's so creative, and all of us were, even his Ebru like really like panic stricken, going no, so we were always on our edges about how this was going. And it's one of the collections that was amazing how it was. And each of them presented in a very small space, probably like a 3x2 space that you would do, like half the size of a normal booth that you get at a trade show. Okay, some of them had screens, but it's like, but really nicely like presented and beautiful collections. And we had some really amazing comments as well from some of the actual judges afterwards. And what I'll do is there's Gerrit as well, and Andrew. And then I had lots of comments from a lot of the judges. So we did a little questionnaire. Actually, Trisha from like 10 Cell actually gave some questions to a lot of them, because she's writing it on her own blog. And I managed to get a lot of the feedback that everyone actually said. So I've got it all here. So if you want to pause it, you can read it as well. But I think there's a lot more, hopefully more of this to come. We're only in our year 5. Because of COVID, we don't know what's going to happen next year, but fingers crossed from October, we're going to be doing it bigger and better. We're going to hopefully do a mini Kingpin show. So the first in the UK for about 20 or 30 mils. And we're going to do the 3rd Transformers as well, and hopefully do this innovation project again. Thank you so much for all of your time today. Hopefully you enjoyed the time, and sorry it ran over. I'm going to edit it back so we'll manage to make it fit. But thank you for your time, and hopefully we get to do this all again.
Wilson, I'd definitely like to say, obviously, just again and publicly, just a massive thank you to all of the sponsors and all of the judges, and also to yourself and Sue, for all the time you've both, given to our students as well. So I know we all just want to say a huge thank you, because it helps.
It was such a huge pleasure. I enjoyed so much being part of it.
It feeds us as well, giving back to students and them doing really great things by making collections that use no wastage, or they're really clever how they present, and literally it's a complete pleasure. If anything, I want to make it bigger and have days where we talk about branding and labeling and trims properly. There's so many things that we could make bigger. 10 weeks isn't even enough, but we're doing so much already for these second years. But it's an amazing project, and many more people need to know about it. But thank you so much.
And I think also because the industry is changing so much. It's like we've in the 20 odd years that I've been in denim, it's changed an enormous amount. But there's an absolutely huge and critical tipping point to the way that design will go forward. So to bring in sustainability and to bring in the learnings that are happening in an event like this is just critical, because the education of future designers is so much different from how it's been over the last 5 years. And that was really highlighted in this, I think.
I think even how we sample and make garments, like there's so many bigger companies that are trying to not even make a single thing now and do it all like digital or like digitally. So it's like, like Sabine in your own course, I'm sure you guys are touching on making stuff that's not even touching a loom, or not even touching any fabric, and all like virtual really, until you press go, then someone in the virus makes it. It's like, it's cutting down costs in a clever way, in a different way. So
Yeah.
that's the way it's going as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for your time, and give ourselves a clap, and hopefully see you guys in like October.
Yeah. Hope you speak before then.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.